Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ken here, and I got a really cool episode for you today. This is probably the number one question I get asked all the time by my students. How do we simplify content creation? And we're going to get into it right after this.
So the big question is this: how is a tiny percentage of entrepreneurs blow the pack away? What are they doing that we're not? I asked myself that question for 10 years. I was failing forward and getting sick of it. I wanted to build a coaching business, but couldn't make any headway. So I started studying. I realized that the world's most elite marketers, entrepreneurs, and gurus were all using the same 4-step system. I call it the authority factor. On the show, I'm going to prove to you that the authority factor worked for them and it'll work for you. My name is Ken Dunn. Let's get started.
All right, welcome in today, guys. Let's just dig right into this topic. I get asked all the time, how do you simplify content creation? It seems to me that thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs around the world are really struggling with this one thing. So I wanted to spend some time with you today and break down my exact content creation strategy and how I do that. The world is evolving and content is becoming more and more important. There's just a couple of reasons why you need to really be taking the time to invest in content creation. Number one, it's message delivery. So if you're running any online business whatsoever, and you're trying to scale that business, the days of scaling on one platform alone, being a one-trick pony, are gone forever. And what's really cool about what's happening right now is that the latest strategies that people are implementing are actually the oldest strategies that people are going back to. What I mean by that is, before the iOS 14 update, before the iOS 14 smack, if you will, pretty well everybody that was scaling was using Facebook and Instagram. That was the easiest way to go. But how did we get to Facebook and Instagram? If you think back over time, for those that have been around the game for a long, long time, it all started with email marketing. And then the real strategies in the beginning were, how do you get people onto your email list? And that was content. It was creating content. It was going out to the world, getting in the habit of publishing content on whatever platforms were available and giving away everything that you know, but in bite-sized morsels. And then what you would do is you would put keywords inside of your blog post, or you put links inside of your social media post, and those links would draw people back to your email list. And that's a long tail strategy, meaning, well, that's probably not the right use of the word long tail. But what I mean is that if you're going to really develop a content plan for your business, it's a long-term strategy. You want to get out there and really start giving good quality content and take it seriously and get in the habit of doing it. But then once you decide you're going in on content creation and you're going to go down that road, it really takes time for you to get good at it. But you have to do it. Now, another piece of the puzzle that's really important is where. Where do you publish content today? There's a couple things I think that are important for everybody. I think Facebook and Instagram, as much as they're having troubles with who they are and how they advertise, they're always going to be part of the puzzle. I think if you're not publishing content on YouTube today, you're missing the boat, because all the platforms that are out there will all tell you that 90% of content that is really doing well in the world today is video. And I think if you're not doing a podcast, you're hurting yourself, because the world is moving really fast. And if people find you and they find your content interesting, one of the main ways people are consuming content today is when they're on the move. So they'll download podcasts into their phone. They'll listen to them in their cars. They'll listen to them on airplanes. They'll listen to them while they're traveling. They'll listen to it while they're at the gym. And so if you've got a podcast, you're opening yourself up to more and more listeners, more and more followers. Now, what's really great about it, in addition to that, I think that if you're doing anything that is linked to a business, LinkedIn, once they were bought by Microsoft, they finally got their act together, and they're literally becoming a really great publishing platform where you can see your following building as you're publishing content. And then Twitter. Twitter is now really embraced video, and you can publish video on there, and it's becoming even more and more essential. Now, the other thing I think that everybody needs to really start re-looking at again is blogging. If you've gotten away from it, you need to get back into it. And then there's some specialty platforms that are coming along now that are all also based on video, such as TikTok. More and more people than ever before are using it. So then here's where everybody always gets overwhelmed is if you got to publish in all these places at the same time, how in the heck do you do that? And if publishing content is a long-term strategy where you're going to have to get in the habit, you really have to get in the habit of publishing content and expect a return years later. So the question is, how do you manage all this? I mean, if you're getting overwhelmed, just listening to this right now, if you're watching this on one of my social media channels, if you're on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, somewhere you can put a comment, go ahead and comment if this is overwhelming you right now. Because for me, for years, the idea of message delivery. Actually, let me just give you one more here. I said at the beginning of the show, there's two main reasons why you want to do it: message delivery. And the second is product sales, system sales. Both of those things are going to come out of this. And I guess the third one is to build your following. All three of these are going to come. Those are the results, the direct benefits of getting into a long-term content creation strategy. But like I was saying a minute ago, you look at it is the most overwhelming thing in the world. When I first was getting started, and people like Russell were telling me that I'd have to start publishing content on social media regularly, and I started, what he said to me was, okay, ask yourself, where is your customer? Where is your customer at? And then when I did my list of where my was customer at, there were literally 10 different places that I needed to be publishing content. And it's not whimsical. You got to do this regularly. Like, you should have new videos going live on YouTube on a daily basis if you can get up to that. It's not hard. I'm going to show you how. You should have podcast episodes going out every single day, and you should be posting on social media several times a day. You should have new TikTok videos every day, and you should have new blog videos every day, or sorry, articles every day. And that's what I really want to talk to you about today, because we're all going to be open and say that when we first start looking at all this stuff, it is like crazy overwhelming. And I was trying to figure out a strategy. I started doing it, but my challenge in the early days was inconsistency, was not being consistent, publishing content regularly. Here's what's going to happen. If you think for a second about the person you want following you, if somebody sees one video of yours on the internet, they're going to watch that video and they're going to say, great perspective, interesting perspective, and they're going to keep going. But that's not how you create a follower. How you create a follower is when expectation is created and they develop a habit of consuming your content. I'll give you an example. I have hundreds of people who have reached out to me over the last couple of years about my podcast, how regular it's becoming, and how they've found a time of day that they listen to the podcast episodes every single day. That's why you do it, friends. That's why you have to get into this. Because now if I drop a podcast show someday and I invite people to a workshop, or I invite people to some type of offer, it's more likely to get a response. So the other thing that you want to do is you want to constantly remember that, I'd say for me, the number one reason for content creation is to build my email list. Now, how do I do that? How does content creation fit into the email list? Well, when you start publishing content on all these platforms, what I do is I have a number in my business. I have a number of different lead magnets. And sometimes I'll actually mention the lead magnet inside of the shows. I'll put it in the show's notes. I'll put it in the post. Whenever I do a social media post, I make my virtual assistants that actually do the posting put a link to a lead magnet in everything. And we've used a platform called Hyros to track everything that we do. And because of Hyros, what we've been able to find is that we have about anywhere between 50 and 100 people per day that are joining my email list because of the lead magnets, because of the organic social media, because I'm just posting regularly. Now, you want to hear something amazing and why you should do this. At least $2,000 a day in sales is coming from my email list right now. The main way I'm building my email list is organic social media content. You see why you need to do this? Now, again, I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this for years. This doesn't happen overnight. So what I wanted to talk about today was, how do you simplify all this? If you really want to get serious about content creation, how do you simplify it? It's just a couple steps. The first thing that you want to do is you want to create a content calendar. Second thing that you should do, if you're really serious about this, is get a virtual assistant involved. Because what I do is, now that I've got a content calendar, I know what I'm going to be publishing content on. I do a single video, and then I give the video to my virtual assistant, and she does the majority of the work. And I'm going to show you that in a second. But first thing I want to talk to you about, the third thing that you need a content calendar, you need a virtual assistant, and you need a habit. You got to get in the habit of doing it. Okay, so let's talk about the content calendar first. What is the easiest way to figure this out? I got to show you this. This is amazing. Like, as you guys probably know, my whole business started because I love books, and I started to teach people how to write books. Everything else came out of that. There's a technique that I was taught 15 years ago by one of my first mentors, Nick Boothman, who taught me how to structure a book so that I would write an amazing book and I wouldn't get my own ego in the way. And what I found is his book structuring technique was actually a content calendar. It was a way of creating a content calendar. So I want to show you this. If you're really serious about doing this, the biggest reason is that you're building some type of online business helping other people. So you got a coaching business that you're growing in one way or another, a service business that has some type of connection to the online consumer. So here's what you want to do. If you want to get really serious about this, step one is to create the content calendar. How do you create it? Well, step one in that is the client journey. So what you're going to do first and foremost is you're going to ask yourself, who is my ideal client? And write out everything you can possibly think of about that ideal client. Whoever they are, what they're all about, et cetera, et cetera. What's their problem? What's their challenge they're dealing with right now? And you want to ask yourself, what's the big challenge that you're going to help them fix? Your business should revolve around that big challenge, whatever that is. Once you know what that is, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, okay, what does happily ever after look like? What I mean by that is, let's say they hire you for an entire year and they do everything that you say and you fix their problem. How has their life evolved? How has it changed? And write out all the details: happier now, better life, lost weight, more money, whatever it is. Once you know the beginning and the end, now the next step in doing this client journey is to you just ask yourself, what are the steps that I need to take to get them there? Logical steps in the logical order that they need to learn and they need to implement and go. So you write out step one, whatever step one is. Let me give you an example. Let's just use a weight loss business, if you will. So step one is about realizing how they got there. Step two would be a plan. So you write out, what is step two? Step two is the plan. Step three would be eating, right? Because if you want them to lose weight, that would be the order. Step four would be fitness or activity, movement. Step five would be habits, developing new habits. Step six would be developing a system for accountability. And then step seven would be focusing on the first 90 days. So this all came from how you write a book, right? So if you were writing a book and you were creating this client journey, the steps would be the chapters. Now, I've helped over 3,000 people to write books. This is how we figure out, this is this book structuring methodology. But if you were, and this is for a book, if you were building an online course, the steps would be the modules. And if you're just looking to create your content calendar, the steps become the framework. And your content is going to come from this. Now watch this. All you do next, once you've written out these steps, is you're going to sit there with your first step, whatever it may be, and you're just going to bullet point out, write out every single thing you can possibly think of that they need to learn in that step. And you do this for each one of the steps. So after, this might take you a half hour to do. I've never seen anybody take more than 40, 50 minutes to do this. But let me tell you what you end up with when you write out all these steps. I've seen 3,000 people do this, and they typically end up with between 7 and 10 chapters, and they typically end up with between 10 and 15 steps. That's your content calendar. So let's say you had 10 chapters in your book and 10 steps in your journey. There's 100 pieces of content. It's amazing. So how does this become a content calendar? It's really simple. Each one of these steps is going to be a video that you're going to create, and you're going to talk about it. Now, how do you figure out what you're going to say in the video? Again, super simple. 3 points. You write down 3 points. So let's say this, I'll just call this line A. So A is your topic of the day. This is what you're going to be doing your video on today. Just before you shoot your video, find a piece of paper somewhere and write down what you're going to be talking about. Let's say for me, I was doing a video on building an email list. So I would say, okay, the first step is lead magnets. The second step is setting up your funnel. The third step is starting to email them or attracting leads. How do you get leads? Sorry for the writing, guys. If you're trying to take notes on this, I'm not really helping you. I'll just write leads. So now that I have those three things figured out, all I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly what I'm doing with you right now. This video was originally recorded using Zoom because I wanted to be able to share my screen. And before I sat down and did this, I said, okay, I wrote out a couple notes. In terms of talking about simplifying content creation, I got to talk about 3 things. I got to talk about the lead magnet. I want to talk about the loop, how I actually do it. And I want to talk about virtual assistants. And then I do the video. See, friends, it makes it so freaking easy. And then depending on the amount you got, all I'm going to say is I do videos 5 days a week. I do my Monday video on Sunday. I do my Tuesday video on Monday, just the day before. I do them early in the morning every day, probably around 7 a.m. And I just go and hit out the next thing in the next schedule. Now, once I get through all 100 pieces of content in my schedule, guess what I do? I go back and do it again. The only thing I do is when I do that same topic for the second time, I make sure it's not the same subject line. And I make sure I do not watch the video I'd already done because different information always comes out. And then once I go through this a couple times, I get so in the habit of doing it, it all becomes easier. But you just want to make sure that you have all of those points. All right, let's talk about what actually happens now. You're going to freaking love this. I call this my content loop. And friends, in the show's notes, you're going to see a link where you can register for a live workshop where I'm going to show you how to implement this content loop. But let me show you exactly how it works. So all I suggest you do is 1 video per day. When you're getting started, if you're like super overwhelmed by that and you can't get in the habit of it, then do like 1 video 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you're going to shoot that video. But then what I do is I have a virtual assistant involved, and I send the video to my virtual assistant. Now, what my virtual assistant is going to do is my virtual assistant, we created a little commercial that goes at the front of all my YouTube videos. You saw it if you're watching this on YouTube today at the beginning. So she's going to create the YouTube video, and she does that by putting the trailer at the beginning, or the intro, you want to call it, maybe the intro, I'll call it. Yep. The intro, And then at the end, there's always a trailer that invites everybody to a webinar. She puts those 2 little pieces of video on, then she loads it up to YouTube and gets it done. The next thing she's going to do is the podcast. She uses some free software and she takes the audio out of the video and she loads it into the platform we use for podcasting. The next thing that happens after that is she takes that same video and she puts it in a platform online and she creates the blog article out of it. There's a platform online that if you guys come to the content loop workshop that I'm going to create and show you how to do this, I'm going to give you all of the websites and everything, but there's a website online that will take a 20-minute video and will transcribe it and put it in paragraphs and everything. It's a really cool technology for probably less than $2. And then once that is done, and I actually have articles that are being published regularly on Entrepreneur Magazine as well as my website, but blogging and keywords research, everything that goes along with that topic will never change. My virtual assistant does all that stuff. And then the next thing she does is she creates the posts. And that the posts, they go on Facebook, they go on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. Oh yeah, then one last thing I got to tell you, friends, you got to go live. You got to go live. If you're going to do this really well, you got to do this live with people because that's what people are looking for nowadays. And that's what the social media platforms want you doing too. But guess what? There's a technology for that. Because so here's what it looks like to the world. I go live every day in 4 different Facebook groups, on 3 different Facebook pages. I go live in LinkedIn. I go live on Twitter. And sometimes I even go live on YouTube. But you know the best part about this is? I don't actually go live. What my virtual assistant does is takes that exact same video and uses another website online that allows you to simultaneously stream to all those platforms live, and it looks live. The reason you want to do that, you got to do live videos, but who wants to do live videos? I don't like, I get overwhelmed when I do live videos. I'm going to admit it with you. Sometimes if I'm doing a live video and I see the comments, I get completely distracted by them and I get a little nervous too. So once I found this technology, everybody thinks I'm live all the time, but I'm actually just using a technology and showing the video that I recorded, just like I'm doing with you right now. This is called the content loop. What makes the content loop work is my VA. So I just have to do 1 video a week. How do I figure out what that 1 video is? I created that client journey and I live by it, and I created a habit. I do it at 7 a.m. every morning, and I do the video the day before. And I just got in the habit of doing it. Now, the best part about it is in the workshop, I'll actually show you guys all the different platforms to use. I'll show you where to get a virtual assistant for $200 a month that will do all that work for you. I just don't have enough time here to go into all that detail because I know what your attention span is like, right? So just go into the show's notes. There is a link to join me on that workshop, and I'll show you how to add the content loop to your business. Here's what we'll do on the workshop. I'll show you how to create the content loop, how to automate the content loop so all you have to do is shoot 1 video, and then how to build your email list from the content loop. It's so freaking easy, friends. It'll blow your mind. And that's really all there is to it. So let me just get out of here. There we go. All right, friends, hope you guys enjoyed this today. Do yourselves a favor. If you want to come and check out that workshop where I'm going to show you exactly how the content loop works, go ahead and click on the link in the notes. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications because there's lots more where that came from. See you soon.
Hey friends, thanks for being here on the show today. Listen, if you really enjoyed the show, then I gotta tell you, there are hundreds of other shows just like this that will teach you everything you need to know about building an online business wrapped around helping other people. I focus completely on teaching people how to build coaching businesses. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you know when new shows are live. And because you're here with me right now, as a special invitation, I'm hosting an online workshop where I'm teaching people exactly how to build a coaching business. Well, what I'm going to show you is how I've built an 8-figure coaching business working exclusively right here from my home office. And it's a 4-step system: how to build your following and move those people to your email list and then start selling your products and services to them. If you want to join the workshop, all you have to do is go to authorityfactor.info. I put that URL in the show's notes. Make sure you check it out.